Hi everybody. So I promised I would be showing you the finished product of the farming barge, and I have to say that with it expanded, it looks a lot better. I'm glad I ran into a problem with those other farmers because I do think I like the range of these farming stations much more. This episode, we're going back to things that Bacon never intended. Specifically, Applied Energistics. In the past, I have seen people build these great big cubes of Emme controllers, but in my personal experience, I've never come close to using up all the capacity of 3 of them, so that's where I'm stopping. But I figure I can keep the drives over here. Actually, no, I'll want to move these over so that I can have them hooked up to cables. I have no intention of actually getting all of this setup copied over to Applied Energistics this episode. Mainly I'm focusing on getting the Applied Energistics system set up where it can make the parts to expand itself, and copying all this stuff over. I'm not even sure how I'm going to get all of it out of here. A lot of it may be by hand. Anyway, I'm going to be starting out with these cheap little 8-channel cables until I get this system set up where it will make some full-size cables. And while I have the power acceptor set up down here, I don't have anything plugged into it yet, so that's something I'm going to have to fix. So I'll want to set up some capacitor batteries underneath. Then we'll want to set up some storage. And we already have our first one here, which is just a 1 kilobyte storage cell, because this is mainly going to be holding the stuff that's going to be used to make more parts. And once I get that going, then I'll make some bigger storage cells. So in the meanwhile, I'm going to set up, 3 or 4 or 6 vibrant capacitors from Ender IO. Just put them directly under this power acceptor, and then wire it up to the big reactor. And that way we'll just have to run it every once in a while to charge the capacitors up all the way. And then leave it off the rest of the time to save fuel. and capacitor banks. This probably is not the best way to do this, but it is a way. And my first Ender energy conduits. Which I guess I'll just pass directly through the floor. And with that, we have a live ME system. But we're still going to want to crank up the reactor in order to charge those capacitor banks. But I will wait till this one empties, and that way when it fills up, I know it's done. In the meanwhile, I have these molecular assemblers. I have ME interfaces. I have only a little bit of cable, but I will be changing that sometime soon. And I think that I want to start this whole wall of builders right around here, which means I don't have enough cable. So I'm going to have to go back to the RS system to make a bunch more. And I'll do that as soon as I have this charged up again. Okay, so we have the cables for our first set of crafters in place. And the crafters themselves. And we don't have enough channels for all of these, of course. Because these only carry channels for 8. Oh. So apparently these things do conduct power to each other, which is cool. Would have saved me a huge amount of wiring if I had known this in past games. But the point is, we now have 4 molecular assemblers online with 8 recipes ready to go. Well, actually 8 sets of recipes. Since they hold 9 recipes apiece, that's 72 recipes for which we have space. One thing I don't have is a visual interface. Alright, so I have pattern terminal and a dozen blank patterns. And that'll be something to get started with. Oh, I was going to get a few stacks of barge to continue this floor, but I didn't. But that's pretty cool. So we're ready to put in some recipes. Let's start out with the recipe for blank patterns. Yeah. Applied Energistics doesn't like cheating in patterns. So we'll have to get some materials. I wanted to put something in this drive anyway. Okay, I've got a bunch of AE stuff that I want to go and run over to the new terminal, but I don't know where all my birch is going. I've got 915 saplings, so I know the farm's been working, but only 9 birch wood. So why isn't it chopping the trees? Says it has no axe. Oh, it's got a hoe, but no axe. That's why it's not chopping trees. I set the filter incorrectly. No, it's supposed to put X's in. This thing has axes. That's set to extract. So these axes should be going from here and straight up into there. I'm somewhat puzzled. Oh, there it goes. So now that that's working, I'm going to have to put this wood away before it despawns. fortunately I have a perfect storage to put it in. Alright, so, pattern. And we'll just put it in this one here. And then we'll craft another 5 patterns just to show that we can. Oh, crafting CPUs. Those will be important. It's been a long time since I've played with this. Now I know it has to be a cuboid, and we need at least 1 crafting storage, and I don't have that recipe set up yet. Alright, and let's see, what else was it I needed? I think everything else is optional. And for this very moment, we'll just put that right there. And then we'll give this a click. And there we are, 5 more blank patterns. So with that, we're ready to talk about storage. And I think that I want to continue with at least a 4K, but first we have to give it the recipe for a 1K. And we can just put that in here. And we shall craft 1 of those. So that we can make the recipe for 1 of these. And now that we have 1 of those, we can make a 4K cell. And craft. What did I do? I think I did that wrong. Okay. Yep, that was a storage housing. Let's just put that back and start over. So, 4K storage cell. which it couldn't put in because it doesn't have one in the system. But now it does. And now we have the recipe for a 4K ME storage cell. So fast it's kind of hard to watch. And let's see, as for this thing, we will just do this. And that should be plenty of starter storage, and by the time I get enough stuff moved over to fill that up, I will be able to make larger cells. So there we are, our starter ME system. There's really not that much more to it, except to add more recipes and to add machinery. And I'm going to need machinery for things like, well, everything in that factory over there. And the plan is to move all of those workings over here. But we can continue with that next episode. Right now, I want to build a little ship. More of a boat, really. Not something really practical, just a little art piece. It does require a certain degree of practicality because I do have a plan for it. I have this other mod pack I'm going to start on. What I'm working on, and I don't know if it's ever going to come up to something worth releasing, but I kind of hope it does, is a Skyblock mod pack based around exploration. To which I'm sure you're all saying, what? But yes, the basic idea of it is that there is not going to be any sieves, no barrels, well, not your composting barrels anyway. In fact, no ex nihilo at all. What you will have is an airship which you can use to explore the void, and a number of structures provided by Recurrent Complex. And I'm working on the structures, And right now, of course, I'm working on the airship that you, dear players, would be exploring with. Building the airship is easy. Making it stay right side up is kind of hard. But at any rate, I figured I would work on here on making a cool looking airship, and then copying it over to the new mod pack and seeing if I can get it to fly. And if that works well, then I can set it to be your starting structure with why you know make good map. Of course, if the players want to build themselves a better ship or add on to this, they're more than welcome to. And hopefully the players won't be the kind of people that rage quit when the ship construction kind of flips over and sends you sailing into the void. In fact, if you do build your own ship in survival, I would strongly suggest that you build it above something. Preferably above something soft. Natura's in the pack, so there should be clouds. I think I may have to turn them on. But yeah, I would suggest when building your own ship, first build a home with a nice big landing pad with water or clouds or something underneath. And that way, when your first few attempts drop you off of the boat, you don't end up falling into the void. And I probably will include the mystical agriculture. At any rate, I think it's a pretty cool idea, and I'm actually looking forward to playing it myself. This sure isn't a pretty ship, though. It's going to be prettier than it is now. It would almost have to be. But I've always loved airships, and I've kind of like Skyblock. The only thing I really don't like about it is that your beginning progression is always the same. And I'm hoping that this helps with that. Alright, I think this might make a suitable start. But if your opinion differs, and you see any improvements I can make to this ship, I'd love to hear about it. And hopefully I provided you with a little bit of a teaser, enough to interest you in what I have coming up. I know I'm looking forward to playing with it, and I hope you are too. So there we are, part 2 of what Bacon never intended, the beginnings of our ME system, and the beginnings of what might be something else. Be sure to tune in next time. Until then, have some fun, build something cool, and have a nice day.